Hello, my name's Carissa Lowe, and today I have weaving, knitting, and cross stitch to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump on in and get started. Welcome to Sweet Mountain Crafts Fibercast number 20. I'm so excited you've chosen to join me here. I have lots of new subscribers recently, so thank you for subscribing and liking the podcast. That means the world to me as I spend my time putting these together for you all. And I'm so glad that you've joined me here. I am coming to you from Cody, Wyoming. You can see over my shoulder here in the background. These are pictures of my family. So I am happily married to my husband for 24 years this year, and I have 4 kids, 2 of which are already graduated and moved on from the home, and 2 who still live here with my husband and myself. So busy days as we have so many things happening for sure. You can find me online on Instagram as Sweet Mountain Crafts, Sweet Mountain Fiber, and Sweet Mountain Mohair. And then you can also find me here on YouTube and on Facebook as Sweet Mountain Crafts. You can feel free to contact me at any point at hello@sweetmountaincrafts.com. I have some fun things to share with you guys today. I'm super excited about some finished projects, some works in progress, and also the announcement of who won my giveaway from my last episode. So we'll be looking at all that together here soon. First of all, let's start with what I'm wearing. Today I have on my Clara shawl. This is a pattern by Amba O'Brien. I have worn this shawl before on the podcast, but it is a shawl that gets a lot of attention when I wear it. So I threw it on today because it is such a fun, easy project to knit. And on mine, I used 2 very high contrasting colors, which just made it a really striking looking shawl, and probably one that I will knit again. I don't have 2 yarns picked out right now for what my next one would be, but it is such an easy project and a fun one to work on. The yarns in this one in particular are hedgehog fibers, and I did this so long ago, I'm not going to remember the names of the colors, but it turned out all fun, and like I say, I wear this one often and I also get a lot of compliments on it. So I wanted to show that today. And then also my earrings. I'm going to take one off and hold it up to the camera so you can see it better. This is a fun product that I have in my brick and mortar shop, Wyoming Yarn and Fiber. It is an earring by Nest Boutique, and I'll put in a photo here of some of their items that I have in my store. This earring, though, is upcycled knitting needles. So they cross-cut those old aluminum straight needles that no one really uses much anymore. I shouldn't say that. Probably a lot of people have these straight aluminum needles in their stash, especially from grandmothers and all. But it's really interesting to me how much people have gotten away from using these straight needles. I would say that predominantly people have gone to using circular needles, or even double points probably more frequently than I see people using straight needles. But they make great jewelry, so I'm wearing those today. If you're at all interested, I do have some of those available for purchase through my Wyoming Yarn and Fiber shop, and like I say, I'll put a link down below. Most of my show notes are in the description box below, so if you come across anything that you have questions on or might have interest in, be sure to click on those links because you can find out more information that way. Occasionally I miss something or I get behind on getting my show notes added to my episodes, so never hesitate to ask in comments or even email me directly if you have questions about something that I mentioned on the podcast. I'm happy to fill in any details that I can. Right, what's been going on? Well, first of all, a little bit of what's been happening in my life. Right now, we've had an amazing amount of snow. So it was starting to get warm. Spring was coming. On my last podcast, I was talking about gardening a little bit and starting seeds. And I will show you that I have started some seeds. And here in this little bit of video, you can see my indoor seed starts. These are just in the basement of my home under a grow light, and those are doing great and are well on the way to just getting where we need them to be in order to transplant. We will end up moving those to our greenhouse, which is a geodesic dome that's here on our property that my husband and his uncle built. And here in this next video, I'm going to show you, just take you on a little adventure to show you the amazing amount of snow we just got and what it's like to get to the greenhouse right now. There's no good way to get out to the greenhouse right now without getting wet feet. Whoa. Walking the dog tracks. Ah. Try not to fall in the snow, that is. Oh, look. At the base of the tree, there's a little bit of bare ground. Should we go in? Let's go check on things. Let's see if we can get the door open. Well, I'll kind of get it open. Open enough to get inside. Let's see what we got going on here. We have some beds we gotta get cleaned up yet from last fall. All the tomatillo hulls or husks. We got some onions. This was an onion that was here from last year that I left. And then this spring I've split it. And so those starts are just getting going. We'll see how they do. Hopefully they don't bolt too soon. We'll see. It's awfully warm in here. And then over here, this is the only bed that we've actually planted. And I don't know that it's been quite warm enough just yet. Not yet, but soon. I've got lettuce and spinach and all kinds of leafy greens in this bed. So in that video, you can see that it is incredibly snowy out. It is so beautiful. I love snow. Snow just makes me happy. I love how it just coats the earth in white and makes it gorgeous outside. And as I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm actually able to look out my bedroom window, which is where I podcast. And I'll insert an image here, but this is a view of what I see out my window. So you can see in the top of this image, the icicles and the snow that is sloughed off the roof is just incredible. It is spectacular to see. And anyway, snow and ice, it's just gorgeous. And so I love winter. It is definitely one of my favorite, well, it is my favorite season. I can't say one of, there's only 4 seasons. And if you say it's one of your favorite, then, you know, it's hard to really pick. Each season has something that is special and unique about it. But winter is one that just, when the earth is covered in a blanket of snow, it's just beautiful. And I love when it's snowy outside. It's only been a couple weeks since my last recording, which is something that I am aiming towards doing more frequently, just because I feel like if I go much beyond 2 weeks, I end up with so much to talk about that it's a little overwhelming to me and possibly to you guys as well, because I end up with these extremely long podcasts, and I really don't necessarily desire to do that. It's just that once I get going talking about all my projects, I have an ample amount to share with you. So here I'm going to be able to show you that I have finished a couple things, although not, again, nearly as much as what maybe on past episodes, but I have finished a few items. So woohoo, I made it. First of all, let's look at this. This is so exciting. I finished my Strawberry Fair cross stitch. So it is not a fully finished yet, but the stitching is done. I had a lot of fun with this. This is a design by Robin of October House Fiber Arts. And this was a stitch along that I did with East Coast Crafter. And oh, there was another company involved with that stitch along, but primarily East Coast Crafter on Instagram. Or let's see, she's Helen D. I think she's Helen D on YouTube, East Coast Crafter on Instagram. I might have that reversed, but again, information in the show notes. But I had a lot of fun with this. I did play with the design a little bit. I didn't stick true to the pattern completely throughout. I made a couple mistakes, and I am of the type that I would much rather just roll with it and adjust than go and tear out. Occasionally I'll tear out if it's significant enough change that I don't like what it's going to do. But on this one, specifically what it was is that some of my leaves are set up a little bit differently. A few different things. My scrolly parts, I made a mistake on one of those, and I think that's mostly it. But the other thing that I did, and I had a lot of fun with on this, is I am just now getting back into cross stitch from years of taking a break. I cross stitched as a kid. I taught my kids basic cross stitching, but I really had not done a lot of cross stitching myself until recently. And so getting back into it, I am so amazed at all the beads and the extras that are starting to show up in the cross stitch world. And I decided, especially on a strawberry, it just makes sense to have beads. I love the texture that beads add. And I just went stash diving. I had some beads in my own stash. Some of these are even possibly from my mom. My mom used to do beaded moccasins. And so she had passed along to me back in high school, when I was in high school, some beads that I think she'd had since she was in high school. And so I just pulled some of those out, as well as some beads that I've added to stash. And I put a little bead on the bird's eye. And then on the strawberry itself, for the pips, I put the little seeds, I put beads on there. So I thought it turned out super cute. I'm excited to turn this, I was thinking into a pillow, but it's going to be a rather large pillow. So now I'm debating on whether I just want to frame it or mat it. I'm not totally sure just yet. I'll play around with a couple different ideas and we'll see. But it will get finished hopefully within the next, I'd like to think within the next week or two. My goal is to have this done to do a strawberry themed arrangement at my shop and pull out all kinds of strawberry stuff. Strawberries are a favorite of mine, and I have lots of strawberry things to put with it. So somewhere along the way on Instagram, I will likely post a photo of this once I make it a strawberry themed display. Next, my next finished object, of which I don't have with me, is here in this image. This is a picture of my socks that I finished. These are the Mountainous set that I hand dyed, and I worked up these socks as a sample for my shop. So in that picture you can see that they're already hung on the wall at the shop to display what that yarn knits up like. So they were a fun project, and eventually those socks will be added to my own sock drawer, but for now they're hanging out at the shop and they'll be there for a number of months, I'm sure. One more thing I finished that was just kind of a fun project, and I want to just show this because it's a fun way to repurpose knits. Sometimes we have knits in our drawers or closets that maybe we've gotten tired of and we just don't know what to do with them anymore. Or in the case of this specific display, I actually found knits that were for sale at thrift stores. So I can't say that they were hand knits necessarily. They were probably all machine knits, but I wanted to create a shop display that would be useful for the spring. And so I took these sweaters and then I took and put them on either macrame hoops or embroidery hoops, and then I hung them for display in my shop window. So, and then also in this, you'll also be seeing I used a embroidered piece that I showed on my last podcast, and I also used that to hang in with this display. So it kind of gives it a little bit of life having those flowers in with the display as well. But it was just really fun to put this together, and I wanted to show that sometimes maybe you have knits in your closet that it's just time to be done with them, you're tired of wearing them, they've aged out, whatever. And just there are ways to find new life for those. Right, works in progress. So let's look at a couple things that I have been working on. So I think two of the things that I have here today are things that I've shown previous progress on. One of them is new, and then I'm going to skip. I'm not going to show anything on my frothy pullover or my metanoia shawl because I've not made any progress on those since the last podcast. I know that's so bad of me. I even dyed up the yarn for the frothy pullover, and I have not touched that project. I really need to, but there's been some other things that have been calling out to me, and I can have a tendency to want to work on what is grabbing my attention at that moment. Otherwise, I can feel like it's drudgery, and then I just don't enjoy what I'm doing. So I'm getting close to done with a couple things, and once those are done, then I'll be able to focus back on my frothy pullover and the metanoia shawl. But really quick, let's look at some other things that I've been working on. I did show this as just a very beginning start on the last podcast. This is the Easy Does It shawl by Darn Knit Anyway, and it is a very, very simple garter stitch construction shawl with an I-cord edge. Very, very basic shawl. This is using the Giardino yarn by Louisa Harding. This is, Ninfea? It's such a unique name. I think it's Ninfea is the name of the colorway here. Beautiful, bright spring color. I look forward to having this done. And this is just a shop sample, but it will be one that I'll add to my own wardrobe at some point just because I know these are colors that I would enjoy wearing. So it is turning out very fun, very bright and cheery. Next up, this is my Merrimack shawl that I had shown before, again in this great bag by No Knits. And I have made progress on this. This is actually my new March to the Finish project because Beth of Pandemic Knitter had said, hey, let's find some projects that we want to march to the finish and get them done. Well, at first that was going to be my frothy pullover, and I might still see what I can do to squeeze that in there. But I decided that it was more important for me to get this project done because this is a knit along that I'm doing with a number of ladies at my yarn store, and I felt like it would be appropriate for me to finish the knit along with them rather than them all get done, and I was only partially through the project. So I've been working and intentionally getting some more rows done on the Merrimack shawl. This is a pattern by Valerie Hobbs. I have been enjoying it, although because it is a lace work pattern, it's not hard lace, but it is one that takes a little more attention from me. So I have to make sure that when I'm doing it, that I'm really in the mood to do it. And so that was what was holding me up previously. But like I said, I have a little bit more ambition to get this done now, knowing that the end of the month is coming and my knit along that I'm doing at the shop is wrapping up on March 31st. So you can see here, I have my stitch marker there, my progress keeper rather. This is a progress keeper I made for myself. It is a little glass of wine. That actually went out in my February Sock Adventure kits, but I made one for myself as well. And then I'm totally a red wine girl, by the way. So if there's going to be a glass of wine around my house, it's likely red. And on the shawl itself, this is just a simple one skein project, so it's a great way to use up one of those fun skeins in stash. I chose to work with this beautiful yarn by Songbird Yarns. This is in the Eastern Starling colorway, and I love the color of this yarn. I didn't have any other projects planned with it, and as a single skein project, this is a great way to be able to use this. I also love the fact that these are colors that I know I will wear often, so it'll be a great one to add to my shawl collection. So it's a beautiful project. It's working up well. Let's see where I'm at. I did go down from the pattern recommended needle size by 2. It's recommended that you would use a size 6. My guess is that Valerie must be a much tighter knitter than I am because the fabric that I was getting on a size 6 was so loose. And to use a US size 6 with a fingering weight yarn just seems really, really loose to me. but I also know that I tend to be a bit of a looser knitter. So I went down 2 needle sizes to a size 4. I'm using my Licca Cipra needle, my copper needle here, and it's beautiful against this backdrop of the nice dark indigo blue and green yarn. It's just so pretty against this yarn. But I still have a good chunk of amount of yarn here, so I have not weighed this, but my guess is that I'm probably about halfway through the skein right now. If I get through the pattern, the way that this pattern is that it's different charts repeated over and over with a garter rib section in between each chart. I think that if I were to get done with the full extent of the pattern and still had yarn, I would probably try to squeeze in one more repeat of a chart just to go ahead and use up as much of this yarn as I possibly can. That's kind of my thoughts so far, as well as I want to make this shawl as generous as possible, and knowing that it's a single skein shawl, it's not going to be a super large shawl, it'll be more of a shawlette. So I want to do what I can to make it extend as far as possible. I'll also be aggressively blocking this shawl, which, being that this is a superwash merino nylon blend yarn, those always block out really, really nicely. They have just a little bit more give than some other yarns might. And while it will bloom a little bit, in that bloom, it won't pull back in. It will tend to just lay out. And I, again, intentionally chose a superwash yarn for this project with that in mind. All right, so that's getting some progress and is a good feeling for me. I'm probably quite committed to that. I think I'm going to work on, now that I've finished the Strawberry Fair, I should also say, as I pull this back, I have been doing the daily dedication knit along with Annalena from Anna Knitter, and this was kind of my daily dedication project here recently. I had been using my frothy pullover as my daily dedication until I ran short on yarn. Then I made this my daily dedication. Now that this is done, I think that Merrimack shawl will be my new, when I wake up in the morning, do my Bible time, that's probably the project that I'll be working on most days until it's complete. And then I'll be able to get back to the frothy pullover. So that's kind of the way that my brain is thinking right now. We'll see if it works that way or not. But as I said, I had finished the mountainous socks, and if you have watched me at all, you know that I often have a pair of socks on the go. It is just my go-to. If I just need some downtime knitting, I want something that's quick, easy, doesn't take a lot of thinking, it's always socks for me. So in this great bag by Rose Petal Bags, I believe it is. Yes, Rose Petal Bags. Isn't it a cute bag? I found some yarn that actually kind of matches the bag. Not intentionally, but it was just the next yarn that I went to in my sock drawer to work with. Where I'm at on these guys. This is the start of this project. So here's my llama marking the first side of my first sock. And that will continue to stay on there. I use my llama progress, or any progress keeper on socks indicates where I started. So kind of like my beginning of round. So I would have started here and worked around. I do always 2 at a time, toe up, because I am a very lazy knitter. So I need to be able to know that I am getting the same amount of rounds in without having to do a bunch of counting. I also like to know that I'm getting them done at the same time, because I'm horrible about, and let me demonstrate this to you. Back around Christmas time, I decided I was going to throw on a pair of socks with my Christmas is Coming colorway, which is a hand-dyed colorway of mine, in a DK weight sock. So I started and finished one sock, well, except for weaving in ends. I started and finished a single sock. This is with a contrast. The contrast on this is actually not my hand-dyed. This is a contrast by Lynn of Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. This was part of her Christmas Advent from 2021, and I had that left over in stash and didn't have a specific project in mind, and it goes so well with my Christmas is coming colorway that I put it on here as my toes and cuff. It's not enough to get a heel as well, so it's just toes and cuff, but it looks so great, and I love this sock. Isn't it cute? And guess what? I still have the yarn, but this is as far as I've gotten on the second sock. That's it. So when I say that I get second sock syndrome, I am being completely honest with you all. Second sock syndrome is real for me. I have this one sock, this sad, lonely sock that has been sitting in this bag since, I think I probably finished this maybe in January. I didn't even talk about it on the podcast because I was like, you know what, it's only half done. And I don't like calling a project finished when it's only half done. So we'll see. By Christmas, maybe I'll get another sock done. Anyway, that's my reason for doing 2 at a time, because I have no motivation to work on that sock. It just needs one more sock to go with it to make a pair. But at this point, it may become a stocking, because, you know, with stockings that you hang on a mantle or use as a gift for someone, you don't have to have the second sock. Now, hopefully I'll be better than that with this, but I am so bad about doing that. So this is my solution. I do 2 at a time. I like toe up because I like to try them on. I will put it on my foot almost every time because I do have sock rulers and I like to use a sock ruler, but again, I'm lazy, and the sock ruler doesn't often fit in my bag because I like using a small bag for travel, and a sock ruler is just a little bit longer than my bag. So my sock ruler stays kind of in this area, which in my bedroom here, which is where I do a lot of my knitting and a lot of my organization of my current projects. But yeah, it's in a basket back there. I'm not going to even worry about pulling it out right now. But the sock ruler is there, and it's useful when I'm trying to make a sock for someone that's not currently present with me. But when I'm making socks for myself, I indeed do have my feet with me at all times. So I usually just throw it on my foot to check to see if it's the length I need in order to start the heel. So that's my story on my socks. Again, I can be rather lazy sock knitter, or rather just, I want it to be a not a lot of thought project. So that's what it ends up being. I do knit these on Xiaogu US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needle. I find that's my go-to most of the time. I knit with negative ease, so my socks typically are around 58 stitches in the round. And again, I'm a bit of a loose knitter because I do combination knitting, and so I tend to be a bit of a loose knitter, but I also like my socks extra tight. I want them to really hug my feet because again, in the environment that I live in with animals and everything else, my feet are in and out of boots and shoes all day long, and on hardwood floors, I need to have socks that are going to hold my foot really well, not get super sloppy. So that's how I knit my socks. I am adding this quick little edit in here because I realized that I showed you guys these great socks, but I didn't even tell you what the yarn was. So let's go back. This is like a beginner error here. Let's see, that's 20th episode and I'm making, brand new errors and mistakes, but here we go. So this is a beautiful sock set. It's in self-striping yarn, which is great. And it is the Opal Sock Sweet Squared and Spicy Squared from the Cake Ball collection. So I've had this in stash for a little bit. And when I went to go to my stash, oh, I kind of covered that up, didn't I? Here we go. Let's try again. When I went to my stash to find something, I just wanted something kind of happy and fun. So I pulled this out, and it's definitely hitting the mark. It definitely feels like spring, summery kind of socks. So it's a good sock yarn. And as I said, it kind of matches my bag even. So that's a fun added bonus that it goes with the bag that they're in. One of my other works in progress that I've been putting a lot of time into and been really enjoying is my weaving. I have had an empty loom, a naked loom, for a while, so it was time to get her dressed again. I was waiting because I knew that I had an Ashford vertical warping mill on order, and it was on back order actually, so I was waiting for it to arrive, and it finally arrived. Here's some images of me measuring my warp, and then I'm going to insert a little bit of video here for you to enjoy of me getting my loom dressed. That I use on this warping is a cotton from Gist, which is an American organic cotton. That's the green and the white that you see, and then the multicolored, the variegated yarn is called Caterpillar cotton, and it is from Ashford. And I wanted to work with these together just to play with them. This is going to be a shop sample, and so I put this on the loom with the intent of making a table runner and possibly some placemats. My warp is over 4 yards long, and I think I'm going to make a table runner that's probably around 3 feet, maybe, something like that. So I'm going to have plenty of extra to play with. So I'm just going to have fun playing with it. I did choose to use a 15 DPI reed here, so that's 15 ends per inch. And that is definitely a little bit narrow. This is a 3-2 cotton, so it's a little bit narrow for a 3-2, but I decided I'd rather have a very dense fabric rather than a loose fabric for this project. I wanted it to be kind of a thicker finish, and we'll see how this goes. Again, I'm a newer weaver, so I'm learning some details, but hopefully as I get this woven, I'll get a chance to share it with you and see what the finished object looks like. So yes, that's my weaving at the moment. Let's move on to shop news. So I have not anything to share with you too much today in shop news, but I did want to say that I am working on some fun collaborations. One of those is going to be coming out here in the next week or so. I'm in the midst of working on a dye job with a friend of mine, and hopefully you'll see the results of that. Definitely by the next podcast. So within the next couple weeks, you should see some of those results. Possibly before then, if you check out my Instagram. And then also, I'd like to think that I get an email out about this once these sets are ready to go, because it's lots of fun. I'm really enjoying the process and having a lot of fun putting that together. Another collaboration that I'm going to be starting to work on dyeing is something that I've got to keep under wraps right now. But I have another fun collaboration that's going to be coming your way. Again, probably closer to the end of April, more of a May release, I think. Another thing I want to mention really quick is that for any of you that know already, I just want to give you a heads up. And for any of you that don't know, I do put together a Christmas cash kit. And my Christmas cash kit is all about having something that is a fun, a little bit extra kit than what I do during the rest of the year. I put in a lot more time and energy into these kits. I've already spoken to 2 designers. I have 2 designers this year. In the past kits, I have been one of the designers, and then I have had a second designer working with me. But this year, I have 2 new designers working with me. So I have a knitwear designer who is a master knitter, and she is incredible at making beautiful designs. So I'm looking forward to working with her. And then I also have another crochet designer who, again, has put out some of her own patterns, but has also worked with me closely in the past. So these 2 designers I'm going to keep them under wraps for just a little bit longer, but I have started that process. I have some great extras that are planned for the Christmas cash kit this year that I'm working on those details. And anyway, it's in the works. I just want to give you all a heads up. One of the things that I like to focus on in my Christmas cash kits is I always feature Wyoming yarn. So what I mean by that is that it is yarn that has been milled at the mill here in Buffalo, Wyoming. So it comes from Mountain Meadows Mill, and it is always a 100% non-superwash yarn. So this year I'm going to be featuring that yet again because I just really love focusing on their yarns for my Christmas kits, and we'll be doing that again this year. So if you're looking for a non-superwash Christmas themed kit, be sure to keep an eye out for that. I probably won't put those sales or the pre-orders up for that until May. That's my normal plan, or that's what I've done the last couple years is that it comes open in May, and I will be doing probably the same this year as well, unless something comes up unique that I open that sooner, but be looking for that announcement in May. But that's just a little preview of something to come. So I want to take this moment to talk again a little bit of shop news. I have been starting into my Sock Adventures series, and I brought up Sock Adventures in my last podcast and was sure to share more details with you. And so for the month of March, I decided I'd go ahead and show my March set on the episode today, because most of the people that have ordered March have already received it. I think I have one order that went in the mail today. So if you don't want to see the March set, especially you, Katie, if you haven't gotten it by the time you're watching this podcast, just fast forward just a little bit. But if you're interested in seeing what I dyed for my March Sock Adventure set, here it is. So this is my Sock Adventure Set Seed Catalog. So I named this the Seed Catalog because in March, as you all know from my previous podcast and a little bit here today, I start planning for summer and gardening, and I get so excited about new life coming. So this was my yarn for March. And I had so much fun dyeing this yarn up. It is a colorway that turned out even better. Often the way that I approach my colorways is that I get an idea in my head. I get a vision of what colors I want a yarn to be before I even go into the dye studio. I dream it, I think through it, I plan it all in my head. And of course, what we have in our head and what we envision in our head can sometimes play out a little bit different on yarn than what we anticipate. So when I dyed this up, I was so excited with how the colors actually came out. It was so close to what I had envisioned, but yet so much more brilliant. And I love that it came out that way. So let me just open the set up because I love how this played out. This main skein in particular is this very pretty kind of a light emerald green. And throughout it, it has this hint of this burgundy slash wine color, I guess you would call that there. and then also plays with this yellow into these beautiful orange tones, which again is something that I very specifically wanted. I didn't dye that orange. I wanted the cover over to be orange. So those are actually where those colors were intentionally blended to make that color. And anyway, I just love how this dyed up. I wanted it to have distinct variegation and speckling on it. I did not want it to be like last month's was a semi-tonal intentionally. This month's I wanted to play a lot more wild and vibrant. And the reason for that is that when I think of spring and I think about all the colors, it's just this big pop of color explosion in the springtime as we start to see flowers coming out of the ground, or we start to see new life coming, or blossoms on trees. It's just a big pop of color, and that's what I wanted this yarn to demonstrate. So Seed Catalog was my inspiration, but the colors in general are just all life and new beginnings. And then the yellow is just so fun and important because it represents the light that comes and is needed for new life. And then on this, I also put speckles of color. So it was fun to see the speckles play out on this yarn. I just did a light speckling. I just wanted a faint little hint of fun and, again, color pops, but I had a lot of fun putting that on there as well. So this set turned out so fun, and I love it. And along with this, in my Sock Adventures for March, I included a marigold seed packet, which these are dwarf French double mixed colors marigolds, but it's just a fun seed packet that matches very nicely with the yarn. And then I also included, and my other reason for including the marigolds was that marigolds are a commonly used natural dyeing plant. So a lot of people will take the marigold heads and use them for natural dyeing. So my thought is that and my intent was that if anyone that received my sock sets was interested in planting the seeds, then they could also harvest the flower heads later on in the year and use them for natural dyeing. And then I also included some Knitter's Pride locking stitch markers. So this is just a fun little set. There's 30 pieces in this, and it kind of made me think of a seed packet. So again, I thought that was a fun little combination. So that was my Sock Adventures kit for March. I'm going to pop in this picture here of Sharon's finished object photos. So she received my March set, knit these probably within 2 weeks because she got these done really quickly. And then she took this great photo showing the finished socks with the other items that I included in the set. So thank you so much, Sharon, for getting those done and sharing this image with me and allowing me to share it with others. It's just a fun demonstration of what these sock sets are about. The other thing that I include in my Sock Adventures is that I call them Sock Adventures because I also like to include just a little snippet of a story. My main character, Alana, tells about some of her upcoming activities and things that she's doing at this time of year. And then that also ties into what my theme is for the month. So I already have some things underway for April, and I'm so excited to get going on that. If you have not signed up for Sock Adventures, just know that I'll have a link in the show notes to be able to sign up for the Sock Adventure sets. And they are available on a monthly subscription basis, or certainly always feel free to purchase them. Just if you only want to buy that month's, you certainly can do that. So I don't have yet, but I will have Sock Adventures March sets, not the entire set. So you wouldn't be getting these guys as well. That's only for the club members. So only my regular subscribers receive the extras, but I will have extras of just these guys, just the sets themselves in the shop by the beginning of April. So if you're at all interested in this sock set and want a set for yourself, just know that that will be available in the shop soon. On that note, as you guys may have seen in my last podcast, I have reached 500 subscribers. So thank you all for subscribing. And with that, I was having a 500 subscriber giveaway. So I did a random number or random name picker here. And you can see as it's going through and considering all the options, and the winner is Marine Brew. Congratulations. She says, I so enjoy your podcast. I recently went on a grand adventure to Jamaica. Sounds like fun. I was a woman sitting in the shade at the beach, knitting and people watching. What a different lifestyle. Glad to be home and can't wait for camping season in Wyoming. Keep up with all the great things you're doing. Thank you so much, Maureen. Thank you for the lovely comment, and congratulations on winning. Be sure to get in touch with me at hello@sweetmountaincrafts.com. Let me know your shipping information, and I will get the March seed catalog adventure set out to you. So thank you again. Let's do my acquisition segment of the podcast. I have not added any new yarn to stash since my last podcast. I have plenty to keep me busy, let me tell you. So with not needing any new yarn, I always do kind of keep my eye out for other fun things to add to stash, and this was no exception. I love going to the little lending libraries. I don't have one anywhere near me. We live kind of out of town in a little bit more rural location, so I don't have any right here near me, but I do know where a number of them are in town. So there's one in particular I like to stop by that's near a public park, and I had some books that I was getting ready to get rid of, so I took them to that little lending library, and I picked up some things that I found there. So first of all, I found Nicholas Nickleby by Charles Dickens. This is a Dickens novel I have not read yet, so I'm looking forward to reading that. I enjoy reading Charles Dickens. It tends to be a quick read because even though it's a super thick book, he's entertaining enough that he keeps you intrigued and engaged. So I'm looking forward to picking that up and starting that before too long. I also got Willa Cather's book, My Antonia. And this was a book that I actually read in high school. I can't remember all the details on it, but I was excited to go ahead and pick it up again because I wanted to reread it as an adult. And again, I remember parts of it, but I don't remember all of it. It's a book that is focuses on the Nebraska prairie life of Willa Cather's childhood and just 1918. Oh wait, it was written in 1918, excuse me. And anyway, I'm looking forward to reading that again and we'll have that on my nightstand soon. And then also, and this was kind of fun because I was taking, I had a knitting book. Can't remember exactly what I was taking, but when I go to the little lending library, I should say, I never just go and take something out. I'm always putting something in and then I take something out. So in this situation, I had 3 books that went in and I removed 3. It's not always, I don't necessarily always try to make it balanced like that, but in this situation, it happened to be that way. I took something that was knitting related, so fiber related, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was fiber related. So I took that and put it in, and I found something also fiber related. So here's a needlepoint book. This is from, let's see, this is a McCall's book. The original copyright is 1950 with a final copyright of 1967. And it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different copyright dates. Wow. On this needlepoint book. That's kind of unusual. Anyway, but that's really interesting. So yeah, it has multiple copyrights. I'm wondering if they used the same concepts but maybe changed the art or the designs in them with each copyright. I don't know how that works. Anyway, it was originally 75 cents. I, of course, got it for free, so I got it even cheaper than that. But needlepoint, while it's not something high on my list of things to do, let me tell you, I picked this up. I kind of went, do I want this or should I leave it for someone else? And then I flipped to this. Let me see if I can flip to it now. Yep, it opened up to this. And yep, there you have it, strawberries. So as I said before, I love things with strawberries on it. So when I saw that needlepoint strawberry project, I was like, maybe I do need this. So I decided to go ahead and pick this up and take it with me. Honestly, even though this is needlepoint, these charts could easily be used in cross stitch. So any of these could be transferred over into cross stitch or punch needling or all kinds of different things. I'm going to show you a couple other projects in here. This was a really cool, this is the flame stitch. It's like Bargello, how do you say that? Anyway, kind of that type of stitching. Very cool looking, very unique. So they walk you through how to do these different stitch designs. Oops, I don't want to be too rough on it. It's already trying to fall apart on me. The cover is coming off. But it just has some really neat projects in here. So, or rather, it has, let's see, the way it says it, it has 31 needlepoint stitches to learn and 42 designs to make. Now, as I said, I am not much of a needlepoint sewer, but there are so many different projects in here that just look really fun that I don't know, maybe it's something I need to do more of. This one, I could totally see doing this for my son. Like, I think he would like that. My oldest son, if I did that in like purples and indigos, I think he'd really like that pillow. I don't know why. I don't know. There's something about it that makes me think of him. So maybe I'll have to do some of these. But whether it's for a pillow or something else, I don't know. Anyway, the long story short of it is that it was free. I found it. It was fiber arts related, so I grabbed it and we'll see what I do with it. The next acquisition I have is actually a really unique one. This is kind of could have been talked about in my works in progress, but I did not do this work, so I can't claim up to this point anyway what the work is. But here is a beautiful sweater. Isn't this amazing, all this cabling? So this was a sweater that one of my customers found at a yard sale, I believe she said, that she was at the yard sale and she was looking at it. And then, oh no, she didn't even find it at the yard sale. She said someone else she knew found it at a yard sale and got it for like really cheap. And all that needs done with this sweater, seriously guys, the only thing that needs to be done to this sweater is pieced, like seamed together. It just needs seamed and picked up around the neckline to finish off the collar. Possibly, nope, even the cuffs are done on the sleeves. So the cuff, the waistband has already been done. This would be the back of the sweater. Here's the front of the sweater. And the only reason that I'm thinking that that's back and front is that this is just a little bit lower. It dips down a little bit more than this one. So my guess is that this is the back where it goes almost straight across. And this would be the front where it drops down just a little bit at the neck. And then the sleeves. And it's saddle shoulder sleeves. So here's the sleeve. Here's one of the sleeves. And then here's the second one. And again, it's all knit. Everything's been done except putting it together. So my customer said that she had had it in her stash for some time and just hadn't taken the time to put it together, that she was like, you know what? Someone else can do this. I haven't taken the time to do it. It just needs to move on. So I said, sure, I'd be interested in putting it together. I don't know what I'm going to do with it at that point. I did notice that just the body of the sweater is large enough that it does fit. Like, it appears like it will fit my third oldest son. So it might be something that he would wear. I don't know. I asked him and he seemed kind of interested. But the only problem is the sleeves are exceptionally short. So if you can see, so a saddle sleeve, the way that this works is that this comes up on the arm like this. And then this kind of has almost like a drop sleeve finish where, like this shirt has a drop sleeve. It comes right here. So this would come down the arm and then go down for the sleeve. And so with that, like that sleeve could fit me, maybe. I mean, it's too big. This sweater is way too big for me. There's no way that this sweater would fit me unless I edited it a lot, which I don't plan on doing. But the length of the sleeve is more like my arm length. And he's, of course, a lot taller and has much longer arms than I do. So I don't think this sleeve would fit him. So my options then are, if he's really interested in it, once I get it pieced together, if he's still interested in it, I may undo the cuff, or even maybe just leave that to finish last. Undo the cuff, knit a new portion. So like I would undo it in such a way that then I would just add to the patterning that's already here and everything, and then Kitchener that on. I don't know, that's a lot of work, and I'm not sure that he's going to love it that much for me to do all that work. So in the end, I might be putting this together and then either use it as just a shop display, because it's a really amazingly beautifully cabled sweater. Whoever the knitter was on this did a fabulous job of knitting. I, at this point, have not seen any mistakes or errors anywhere in the cabling. It has all this lovely moss stitch on the sides. It's just beautifully done. So whoever did it did a lovely job, and I just want to finish it just because it is sad that it would not be finished once it's been to this point. Let me grab something really quick. I do also happen to have the skeins of yarn that go with this project, so I know exactly what the yarn is, what the content is. It's Brunswick's Heather Blend. It says for the Shetland look on it. And it is an 80% DuPont Orlon Ardena, which is an acrylic. So 80% acrylic, 20% wool, machine washable and dryable yarn. So the color is Wheat Heather. And it's a pretty color. It's definitely an older acrylic yarn. Because there's 80% acrylic, I can definitely feel the acrylic in it. But the wool in it does give it a little bit of that natural look. So like if you're just looking at just the panel pieces themselves, if you're just looking at the individual pieces, it looks wool. It has that appearance to it. But when you feel it, it definitely feels kind of like that older style crunchy acrylic. So it's not an incredibly lovely yarn. Again, another reason that I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I'm not going to go over the top to finish this project for someone to wear it, but I do want to see it finished because someone, again, put all their time into and hard work into this. So I'd love to see it finished so that I can put it on display or just have it out and enjoy it. I mean, it's just such a pretty project. It could make, if I decided somewhere along the way I didn't want to turn it into a sweater, it could also make really pretty pillows. But I'll start by turning it into a sweater, I think. So, yeah. All right, I think that's everything for me today. As I said, I didn't want to take as much time on this episode. So in the meantime, have fun with your knitting, your crocheting, your weaving, your cross-stitching, whatever your fiber art may be. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Yep. My acquisition,